welcome to What Else Is On, the show on the Elseviers Network, where we talk about the TV and movie news over the past week, and I wish I had a fader for that. So
yeah, you need a fader, because it's like I can't hear you when you start talking over the music.
That's what it's complicated. It's honestly complicated, because there's, first off, my name is Gregor Sprague, and joining me is Corey Scott, but the problem is that the soundboard app that I'm using, it just has play, settings, gear, which I have never hit, which just changes the name, and then delete. That's it.
Well, you know, you could always ask our illustrious producer Beatmaster, who also made that tune for us, and the one that you heard last week, if he might be able to fade it out towards the end so you can start doing your voiceover right when it hits the fade. It's going to be a work in progress. It's going to be a lot of practice.
It probably does fade, but it's almost 5 minutes long.
Yeah, I don't think that we're going to go with a 5-minute intro.
Yeah. But no, so this is some big stuff for us because we have a blog, I use that in quotes, place. We are on iTunes and Stitcher, and reminded me there was something I was going to ask you or talk to you about beforehand, but haha, we will save it for after when we are done recording. Oh, hey, guess what? You want to know what I forgot to do? Hit record on Audacity. So let's do that all over. Because that's recording now, and throw up soundboard. Hello and welcome to What Else Is On, the show on the Elseviers Network, where we take a look at the movies and TV shows over the past week. My name is Gregor Sprague, and joining me is Corey Scott. Corey, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. It's an opening so nice we tried it twice. Still can't hear you over the music, though. You gotta kind of like bring the music down, or you gotta figure something out on that.
Yeah, I'll have to find a different soundboard app or something. But anyways, so yeah, for audio listeners who are listening to us on iTunes and Stitcher, hi, how are you? I just waved, realizing that and forgetting this was audio only, but I don't care.
I don't have to do my cheers again because no one's seeing this anyways. Thank you.
But no, so we are. So that was sort of the big news, is that we're on iTunes and Stitcher, so if you find us there, hey, great. Rate us. In the words of Anthony Carboni, do not review us on iTunes or Stitcher, just rate us, give us 5 stars, or you feel that we're worth, and say something nice or whatever, and share with your friends. That's how we get the word around, and that's how we figure out, hey, does this work?
Just also realize we're in a beta, so I mean, if you feel like maybe you don't want to rate us yet because how fair is that? I can tell you, quite honestly, it's never going to get any better. But you can hold back and wait and just see how you feel. Maybe you don't come back. Maybe you don't give us the 1 star. Maybe that's what you do as a gift to me, as a gift to the Corey. I don't know. But hey, here we are. We're doing the show. What else is on? That's what happens on Mondays, 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 West.
Yes. That's when we record live. You can watch us later on Tuesdays, or listen to us later on Tuesdays on iTunes and Stitcher. Haha. We will quit mentioning that now. But so there's not really any big news on here because of V3, and like I had a hard time trying to find stuff even for the splash page, because it's all like, here's this video game thing, here's that video game thing, here's this video game thing, from 5 different places, when I think only one I have in my video game thing is Destructoid on Feedly. It's just Destructoid, all of it, and it's like, but it's The Verge and Gadget covering it as well, and I think maybe Comic Book Resources has a team up there as well, and I'm like, oh gosh. But
the only thing that I really saw as far as the video game news that I was like kind of, oh, finally, was the fact that apparently the Xbox One is going to be made available to play all the Xbox 360 games.
Some of the Xbox 360 games.
No, they said all of them, according to the report I read on Bleeding Cool. It said that all the Xbox 360 games should be able to be playable on the Xbox One with a software update that will roll out to everybody. So it's not even like it's a special hardware thing. I don't know exactly how that's going to work, but that's what I read, and I think that's pretty keen and smart, because right now there is not enough differentiators between the two systems as far as exclusive content to make it seem like it's worth upgrading. I'm interested in the Xbox One, even though they sort of dropped all love for the Kinect. That's the part that I'm kind of most interested in about it. and I like the fact that it has a throughput HDMI, so I can plug my cable box into it and not have to take up another port on my TV. But otherwise, I would probably get a PS4 strictly for the fact that it's going to have a Kingdom Hearts game coming out at some point. But having the ability to play my 360 games on the Xbox One definitely makes it more enticing. I still have 360 games that I've never even opened. So it would be nice to get around to those instead of, using my 360, which I still have hooked up and never touch.
No, yeah.
Kind of like my wife.
Because the way I think it will work is that, because that part I was watching out with Scott Johnson on the with
the morning
Boop
stream
and Pixels.
Oh,
well,
okay.
No, he had shortened it to an hour for morning stream because it was like right after, or it would have been in the middle of like with Veronica talking or whatever, and when we were talking about that and they had gotten to that point, I'm like, maybe it's going to be like the physical 360 disc is more of a proof that you own it than you get you get to download it, which I think I remember hearing people say that's the way it works, is like there's a download or whatever, which makes sense.
No, absolutely, that makes sense, and I'd be perfectly fine with that. It just sucks to see a new system come out and then your old system, gathers dust, even though you've got all these great old games that you'd like to play once in a while. I have my original Xbox sitting in the bedroom, not so much for Xbox games, but because it's sort of been hacked a little bit, and I can play a bunch of MAME ROMs on it. I don't care if anybody comes after me for hacking the Xbox, because it's the Xbox. That's why it's sold.
Yeah, no, it's... But no, so... Yeah, E3 so far, it's been fine, cool. It's like E3, San Diego Comic-Con, and CES are the ones where it's like I have to check my Feedly feed pretty regularly, because otherwise, if I go 4 hours, I have 300 new articles. And it's like, oh gosh. Sort of. But this ain't complaining about news. No, this is what else is on where we're talking about TV. So let's talk
We complain
Game of
about
Thrones.
that.
Yeah, where we complain about Game of Thrones and other TV shows.
Boy, did people complain about Game of Thrones. I have a feeling this is the most aggravating season of the show so far. And I'm like, my wife last night, and here's where the spoilers go up, everybody, just letting you know again, in case you didn't read it in the notes, in case you don't know from past experience, we're going to spoil the hell out of these things because that's sort of what this is about. My wife was peeved at the end of Game of Thrones last night because the what did she say? The last guy on there that's hot got for the walled. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other people today were like, no, and oh my god, I hate Game of Thrones. And I'm like, it's the end of season 5. You've had 5 seasons to get used to what this show does. I don't understand how you're just not getting it. I don't get it. I don't see why people can't pick up and reason, I like this character. That means they're probably screwed. Because George R.R. Martin hates you.
Yeah. Oh gosh, it's that one whole thing, like, you piss off George R.R. Martin, he kills another one of your favorite characters. But no, yeah, so, I mean, because I had seen stuff yesterday, but it was only at, like, 8 o'clock, and I'm like, so Game of Thrones hadn't even aired yet. Where they're like, who is this guy? And I'm like, wait, are you spoiling us on the finale when it hasn't even aired on the East Coast?
I've noticed that a lot. I've noticed more and more articles getting published before it even has a chance to air, saying, did this person actually just die on this episode? And I'm like, you sons of bitches. Because they want the jump. They get the opportunity to see the stuff before us, and they want the jump on everybody else and all the blogs. And it's like, oh, who died? But then you don't really want to know who died. You want to watch the show. Or you don't.
Yeah. Well, no, because for mine, the ones that I saw was the Sir whoever person, and then who is the other Stark boy that's not Bran or whatever. I'm like, all right. And so when I heard that name come up, I'm like, oh, we do get to see him. Nope. Just nope. Just completely the wrong way. So it was like it was a diversion for me because it's like I remember the article. I'm like, oh hey, and just seeing the headlines because for them spoiler articles, if it's beforehand, I will not look at them. Or for I should say before me seeing them, I will not click on them. But yeah, overall, I like this episode. Brain of Tarth, holy crap, so freaking awesome. And so many questions left unanswered for a few other people. Like,
well, for everybody. I mean, that's sort of what the show does. Is it leaves you, it doesn't give you closure on much of anything unless someone just died.
Yeah, but
and then you hope for revenge.
Not so, but it's basically what I'm getting at with that is there's a few people like, okay, we sort of know what's going to happen with them, like Cersei. I'm like, okay, we know she's going to be okay. She's back in the palace where she can be the baddest, momager in all the land.
Yeah, but can we just talk about that scene for a minute? I mean, that was crazy. That scene. I mean, we're watching this, and she gets put out there exposed, and then she has to do the walk, and I'm waiting for the moment where everybody starts, getting violent, spitting on her, throwing things at her, then exposing themselves to her, and I'm just watching this with my jaw agape, like, what an amazing thing for her to endure. Not good amazing, but just it's sort of awe-striking. And as the actress doing that scene, how emotional that must have made her. I mean, Lena Headey's an amazing actress anyways, and she's done some incredible parts. But this scene was just, to me, I'm watching it, I'm thinking, Emmy nomination. I just don't know how they're going to show it on the award show. But she certainly deserves one, and not just for this scene or for this episode, but just in general. She's been incredible the whole way along.
Yeah.
But my wife was like, they did stuff like this too, didn't they? I said, yeah, at least very similar. And it was harsh. It was a harsh scene. It is not an easy thing to watch. It is someone who earned it. Who basically made that situation themselves, and that you don't feel a lot of pity for, other than just the general humanity of you would not want to see anybody go through that. There's the term, I wouldn't wish that on my own worst enemy. And while she's not been the worst on the show, she's one of the worst. Still, it's a hard scene.
Yeah. But no, and there's a few spots in there I'm like, wait, is this actually Lena Headey doing the scene, or are they CGIing her head on a stunt person's body?
And I did see a story like that today, that there was somebody had claimed that that's the case, is that she was CGIing somebody else. I don't know.
No, because there's a couple spots in there I'm like, her head, like there was one where it looked like her head was a little fatter. Okay, wrong choice of words. A little bit like wider than it normally is, and I'm like, wait, what? All right, but by that time it had gone on, and I'm like, gosh, this is so like again, like you had said, it's a gripping scene, just sitting there, and then I caught it again. I'm like, wait, what? Like, because I mean, either way, it's like whatever for the little kids. Hey, there's boobies, sort of deal. Still, it's gripping, but it's just like caught me for a couple of seconds. I'm like, wait, all right, whatever. Sort of deal. But no, let's talk a little bit about Arya with her story that we had here, because that was interesting. Like here, I thought she fully embraced the many-faced god, and was a part of that, and then she's right back to her list.
Yeah, I mean, it was basically it showed that she hadn't embraced the many-faced god, but she had embraced the tools that she had been seeing used. I was a little surprised that with that, and it probably would have taken more disguise than what she could have drummed up. I was surprised not to see her sword in use there, but she did pretty good with the dagger.
Well, that's because her sword is still buried in the rocks out in front.
But if she was looking, the way that she'd been planning to kill people for all this time, and the list, and it being the first person on the list, it just seemed to me like she would have grabbed the sword, especially because that the whole revenge aspect is based around the person who trained her with that sword to begin with. And, you know, I thought maybe she would have pulled the weapon just in regards to that.
No, yeah, it's a great point. And like, because I think, wasn't that this intro? Like, wasn't that the first scene that came in?
That was pretty much the first scene, is that guy caning the young girls, and then one of them not reacting to it, and him, you know, trying to beat her further, and then it turning out to be Arya, which was, it's one of those things, like, I knew exactly what was happening when it was happening, but it was still kind of an incredible scene, and just to see Arya have that kind of viciousness in a physical attack. Like, we've seen her grow in her rage. We've seen her be vicious, even in showing some bit of mercy, some bit of viciousness towards the Hound when he wanted her to kill him, and she didn't. But she left him to die in a kind of horrible way. But this was like, we've seen her kill before, but not to this degree.
No, yeah, and like, gosh, brutal scene, and then we get to, and we're starting to break them up in the storylines here, because it does jump around. But then let's go to Danny and the Marin group right there. Which it's just sort of more of the fallout from the last episode, which is expected, because I mean, with HBO, you know, they only get 10 episodes, and so you can't have all the action be in the finale. You have to save some of it for, which actually seems like, I think all the action was in the last episode. It was in episode 9, and then this was the fallout.
The episode, and the episode before that with the walkers, the White Walkers.
Yeah.
So the last two have been very action heavy towards the end. And that's why when they did the scene with Stannis and his army going up against the Boltons and their clan, I didn't feel bad about not seeing that battle, because other than Stannis and Ramsay, I don't think I really cared about anybody else in that battle. So it was kind of like people were saying, "Oh, well, they didn't even show that scene." The books and the show are not about the war. It's not a war fantasy. It's a political strategy intrigue fantasy. It's about the struggles of people basically trying to earn the right to that throne, and all of the underhanded stuff that they do. So the battles obviously happen, but they're not the key to the story. They're not the most important thing. So I didn't feel like I was missing anything not seeing that.
No, yeah. I mean, the people who watch Game of Thrones for the action are sort of like the people to me who watch The Walking Dead just for the zombies, or read The Walking Dead comic book just for the zombie action. Because that's not what either of them are based on. It's, you know, because with The Walking Dead, it's about the survivors.
Right. I mean, they both have those things, and they both do very well with them. It's just, you're right. It's not really what they are, the crux of it.
Like, I think it's even gotten to the point with the past volume, maybe 2 of The Walking Dead, you haven't really seen any zombies in the comic. Like, especially this last volume, it's all about them living where they're at. I'm trying to remain spoiler-free for that for TV watchers, because it's like, where it's not exact, they might go in that direction. But yeah, so like the other interesting part here with Game of Thrones is, again with the Marin people, just very much it seemed easy, you know, to go, all right. I'm blanking on Peter Dinklage's character.
Tyrion.
It's like, okay, Tyrion, while we are out here because you can't ride a horse, you do battle when you need to, not like it's a necessity.
It was one of the best lines. He gets the best lines of the whole show. It's like, so what do? You talk and drink. You know?
Yeah. And he had, so like him, was it Grey Worm?
Him and Grey Worm.
And her handmaiden, and
Yep.
Danny's handmaiden, are all like, everything's fine, pay no attention, do not look behind the curtain, sort of deal. Like Danny's all good, where the other two go and search for her, which leads us to the interesting part of what, like Beatmaster said. It's good seeing Lord Varys again, which, yeah, it's like, oh, hey, you exist, sort of thing. Like, we didn't have you for, like, 4 or 5 episodes, and, oh, hey, welcome back, sort of deal. And then we had, having Drago here again, even if it was for this little scene, and he wasn't really flying or anything like that, still great CGI.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And I'm trying to think, I think it'd be interesting to see where this next season picks up with her, with Daenerys, because of the fact that we have, I'm blanking on their names. We have the
Dothraki?
Aquaman, the Dothraki. Yeah, we have the Dothraki who came in. It's like, ooh, are they going to be all Hail Khaleesi, or hey, welcome, new slave, sort of deal.
It's this weird moment because, yeah, it's the Dothraki who is the people that she was basically leading when she was with Khal Drogo, and then she's sort of been scooped up doing all this stuff with the Unseelie and all these other people so long, and is she still Khaleesi? Is she still considered any kind of ruler to them at all? Or is she considered a traitor at this point? And there's that moment where she takes off her ring and she throws it down because she knows she shouldn't be marked as something other than what they see her as, which was Khal Drogo's bride. So yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with her. She's been gathering armies, but that is an army that she had at one point and sort of lost. So
yeah.
Can she pick that up again? Is she essentially getting back to her roots? Now she's got her dragon not necessarily by her side again, but she got to ride it out of battle. We might be starting to see her more as she was, as opposed to this politician, which was not really a comfortable place for her to be.
Yeah. No, yeah, exactly. It's just, I don't know, that's an interesting part. The other part was, do you think Reek is no longer Reek and is himself again?
No. No, I think Reek is still only part of who he was, but I think what he saw, what happened with Sansa was that it wasn't so much that he was saving her, it was that he was keeping her from becoming like him. He's been sitting there saying, just accept it, just go with it, because that, in his own way, he sees that as better than what he went through. He's been trying to protect her this whole time with what was the lesser of the two evils, but with Ramsay's Bolton, it's all evil. It's all horrifically evil. And so I think he just saw that this was a moment where she was resigned to being dead is better than being like you, so I would rather die, and that's why he took that initiative to save her and to protect her. Now, what happens from that, I don't know. And this was a complaint that a lot of people had, was that they were doing all this horrible stuff to Sansa, and it was going to be to embolden Theon to save her, and that's not necessarily a great way to utilize a female character in a story, is to just give the man something more to fight for. But it's still up in the air. They can step back from that. This is not all that Sansa's about, and this is not all Theron's about, and it doesn't mean that we're going to go down this road all the way. Hopefully not. I've enjoyed the growth of her character. I've enjoyed as she was getting stronger. And I think even in this she showed that she still got strength. She just knew that physically she wasn't going to be able to power her way out of these things. But I think she's got the cunning that she can do some things now and take more control of her life again. And maybe utilize Theron in a way that improves him instead of him saving her.
No, yeah. And, gosh, great scene. And again, one of those that's like, how did they just survive a 50-foot jump sort of deal?
I'd assumed they landed in snow. I had assumed that there was like snowdrifts or something, but I don't know. And that's kind of the thing. It was that Thelma and Louise kind of moment of we're just gonna jump. We're just gonna go.
But no, I don't know. That's one of the questions that I have that left open. That's like, oh, all right, cool. And so now I think the only one left is Jon Snow, with up at the wall. We see him send Sam and I'm blanking on the girl's name, down to become a maester, and sort of like, okay, there's your last friend gone.
Which is what was said to Sam a couple weeks ago, is that he was running out of friends there, and then Sam leaves Jon when people were not very happy with Jon, and then Jon took the walk into the ambush, which it seems like I've seen that happen before to another Stark son, Rob in the wedding, and it's just kind of like, oh yeah, come down here, oh, it's all going to be okay. Whoops.
Yeah, and so, like, because that one, while I'm watching this, again, going back to Walking Dead, it's like, okay, all right, really we're not seeing any, if Jon Snow dies, we riot sort of thing, like we get with, if Daryl dies.
Oh, no, that's exactly what happened, is Jon Snow died, or was stabbed multiple times, let's put it that way, and people, especially women that I am friends with, were very unhappy about it. And a friend at work, one of the guys that I work with was like, Jon Snow was someone that he was rooting for, although he had really rooted for Rob. And his girlfriend said, Jon Snow was the one person this whole time that she really gave a crap about and was her hero in this story. And now, Jon No. But Melisandre just showed back up at the wall right before it happened. We know that there has been characters that have been brought back from the death. The other guy, he was in seasons 1 and 3. We had talked about he's died and come back to life 1,000 times. We saw the Mountain is now brought back from the dead, wearing a gold knight's helm, carrying Cersei Lannister away as her new protector. And if you follow the books, there is supposed to be another person who has come back from the dead that has not shown up in the program, but there's quite a bit of that in the books themselves, in the stories, and a little bit of it hinted at in the show so far. So I don't think this means the end of Jon Snow, but he has said pretty publicly that he's not scheduled to be part of season 6 because he's dead. And now that could be like Stephen Amell saying that there's no more Oliver in Arrow because Arrow's dead, and then an episode later, oh look, there's Arrow again. But it might not be. It might be that this is the last run of Jon, at least for the next season, and who knows after that. This is also where we really deviate from whatever George is doing with the books, because book's not out yet, and will probably not be out before the next season starts up, since it hasn't even been put on schedule yet.
No, yeah. I don't even know if I want to say that out loud, what we just put. Because
there's a lot of things that could happen to Jon, and Beatmaster is commenting on one of them, but there's a lot of different things that could be about Jon Snow, and it relates to his origins, it relates to who his parents might actually be. There's a lot of possibilities there, and that's the beauty of this story, is that we don't know. At this point especially, nobody knows except for the people that are making the show. And that's kind of a better place to be than even where Walking Dead is, where they changed the story from the comics to the show, but people still go in with a lot of expectations. I would rather not have the expectations and to just kind of like watch it happen as it happens.
Well, as I guess one of them people with Walking Dead who has read the comic books, it's sort of like they capture a lot of the main points from there, like, you know, being in DC and Alexandria, starting out in basically all in Georgia, and you know all that with the CDC was the only difficult part, starting with the prison, and you know all these other set pieces. It's been great because and seeing, you know, the debut of Rosita, Abraham, and Eugene, where it's like, okay, we are modeling this exactly like it was drawn, sort of deal, which was great. You know, that's a great little fan service moment.
It's very cool, but you spent the entire last season anticipating the arrival of a main villain character.
Not anticipating because, well, okay, sort of anticipating, but then I forgot that there was other stuff that happened before he came in and will possibly come in. But it's one of these things, like, I like the fact that I'm like pleasantly surprised by this, like that with Walking Dead, where it's like, oh, I could see in the direction they're going, but I can't get in between the trees, sort of thing.
Yeah, and believe me, I run into it when I watch superhero movies, and I'm not completely pleased with the direction that they take a character that I see as being a certain way from my years of reading the comics. It makes it harder for me to just kind of let go and accept that this is a new take sometimes. So I totally get it. But I do think when it comes to the show, is that now we're in uncharted territory. It's nice to have that even ground for everybody. So the people who are reading the books aren't sitting there always complaining, oh, this doesn't match the book, or the book was better this way, or this character didn't have this happen to them. And we don't have someone also spoiling us for the things as they start to happen, saying, oh, well, wait until next week when this happens. Well, why did you tell me that was happening if I have to wait until next week? So I like this place better. And from what I understand of a lot of the stuff that happened in the later books, it seems like maybe the people who are doing the show have a more concise view of how the story should be, and it improves it a little bit, although people are also complaining very much about the writers of the show for some of the choices they're making and how they're treating a lot of the female characters. And I don't necessarily disagree with that.
No, so let's, real quick, I want to hit on Sense8 because I saw the first 4 episodes. I wasn't able to see the first 6 like I was promising. So, hey, broken promise. Haha. But oh my gosh, this is so visually stunning. I love the show. I fell in love with the show after the first episode, and was like, all right, yep, gonna watch this. And it's really good. It's one of those things, like, if you are a fan of the Wachowskis, I really do think you'll like this. I could honestly, I had this thought while I was watching the 4th episode. Like, you could honestly take this and make it 8 seasons within, like, just one season focusing on this one character, one season focusing on this character, and this one, and then the 9th season's where they all intermix.
Which is sort of what they're doing with the Defenders.
Yeah, but it's just sort of with how it works, like, because you have all the stories that come intertwined. And if I had a con, that's what I would say. It was probably that is you do tend to get lost, especially in the first couple episodes, with who's like where are we at now? Who's this character and all that stuff, because it's essentially 8 characters in 8 different cities that
8 main characters.
Yeah, 8 main characters. So it is a little confusing at times, but it's one of these things, like, I'm really enjoying this. If you are a J. Michael Straczynski fan or a Wachowski's fan, I really do think you'll enjoy the show.
I was saying to Aaron yesterday that it is so stunningly beautiful that this is the first moment where I've said I wanted a 4K TV, just because of the opening credits alone of the show. It is gorgeous. Watching it on the high definition TV in my bedroom, it's at 1080p. It's hooked up with the Roku, so it's a very clear picture. But it's just so beautiful, and it's like that throughout the whole thing. You saw the Bollywood dance scene for the engagement party. I loved that. I think that this showcases these different places. I mean, it's a multicultural show, and it's multicultural characters, but it's also about different places of the world, and it shows them very well. I mean, it doesn't just show them in a bleak light or in a beautiful light. It shows them in multiple different ways, and it's just incredible. Beatmaster says the intro feels a little bit like House of Cards with some Shutterstock footage. I can see that, and Shutterstock is a good example because there is some beautiful stuff on Shutterstock, but I have a feeling the Wachowskis went and filmed all this stuff on their own. And just show, when they've done their stuff before, it's always been visually very stimulating. The Matrix with the green filter was an amazing thing to look at, but when you started getting things like Speed Racer and Cloud Atlas and Jupiter Ascending, they've just gotten bigger and more vibrant in color. And this is like that, except it's the real world. It doesn't seem like something they had to digitally create. These are all things that actually exist. If you just watched it for that alone, you would get a lot out of it. But I love the characters. As I watch it more and more, I'm more attached to each of the characters. You're right. It's a lot to deal with at the beginning. I just finished episode 8 now. And the depth of them just gets further, and they grow more important, and more things happen to them.
I think that because last week we sort of said that there was people who think like episode 3 or episode 4 is where it really starts to get good, and I think that's because I sort of see where they're coming from, but I don't agree with where they're coming from.
Well, no, episode 3 is where something actually happens. Yeah, let's go there.
But I mean, I see that, and it's like, oh, okay, whatever. But still, it's a story that's being told here. They have the 12 episodes. They're going to take their damn time.
Episode 7 is where something else big happens, and it kind of continues into 8. But it takes a good amount of time to get to those key things that a lot of shows would rush into. And I've talked about how I liked The Flash because things kept happening. It was very fast-paced, which you would expect from a show called The Flash. I liked how Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., once it took off at the end of the first season, the second season was like 2 shorter storylines, so you had the first half of the season, then the second half of the season, but the pace again kept moving, things kept happening. Second half of the season was a little bit slower for me. But it really does take its time to do what it wants to do and tell what it wants to tell. And I think that's good. I think in the right context that can work. I think a weekly series would have suffered from that. But a Netflix series that you can, jam as much as you want or stop whenever you want into however much time you have available to you at that point in time, I think it works great. I think it changes the ability to do your storytelling. And that's good. That's art being created knowing its medium.
Yeah. And I have to say, the episode 4 with the three non-blondes bit, or Corey's going four non-blondes. Is that the name of the band?
That is the name of the band.
Oh, sorry. Four non-blondes. My friend, I told my friend about this in chat, and he didn't correct me, but whatever. But the Four Non-Blondes part was great. I loved that, and it helped cement the fact that, or help cemented how the people like work, like how this power works amongst them.
It showcases the power, but it also showcases their personalities so well, because each of them hears the song and they get a different emotion, or they're dealing with a different emotion at the time that they're hearing the song, and so it affects them differently as well. It just shows, you know, how we talked, I think, a little bit about the Apple thing last week, or I know I was talking about it with Dave online, about Apple's got this new radio station, and the radio station is playing concurrently everywhere at the same time, and I think that that's amazing, even though it's a big deal. Okay, Apple just invented radio, but it's kind of incredible because it's one station that you can be listening to anywhere in the world. Anyone can be hearing it all at once, and how much that communication can change the way that people think and the way the world works. I mean, that's what the internet is it's a connection between everybody everywhere at all times, but we don't utilize it that well. We post on each other's Facebook walls as we think of things, and then someone comes back to it later on. So it's the same as getting a text message. It's the same as getting a message on an answering machine. It's the same as watching a TV show when it plays on the East Coast versus the West Coast. When it's something that's live and happening right then, and someone in Africa, and someone in Korea, and someone in Mexico, and someone in Antarctica, and someone here in America are all hearing it at the same time, even though we all get different things from it, and even though it affects us all differently because of what our worlds are at that moment, it's still kind of incredible that it's hitting all of us at once. And that was that moment for me in that show, is that the song is playing, they're all hearing it at the same time, but where their lives are and what's been happening to them, they're all getting something different out of it, yet they're all also connecting to it. It's just a really beautiful moment in the show, and it's the kind of storytelling that I've not seen in any kind of TV like this before. There's been no TV like this before. That's part of what I'm really loving about this program. It's going to get, when you get over the hump, we'll say, it's going to get racy again. There's going to be another pretty dramatic scene that I'm not going to spoil for you. You'll know when you get there. But I was telling a guy at work today, I'm like, there may be moments in the show that you will sit there and you will look at your wife kind of funny, like, should we be watching this? But otherwise, it's just so good. Yeah. Like, I want to recommend it to everybody, but I know that it can't be for everybody. But that's okay.
Yeah. No, yeah. So again, this is one that I'm going to catch. And along with that, I'm going to catch up on the other Netflix show, Between. Now, this stars Jeanette McCurdy, who you know from Sam and Cat and iCarly. And this is a really interesting way that they're distributing this, because it's co-produced by Netflix and City TV in Canada, and it's airing like right now in Canada. Like, I think it's on Thursdays or something. And then the next day it's available internationally on Netflix. So like America, Europe, you know, all the other places that have Netflix. And then it's available on Show Me, which is Canada's Netflix competitor, for a year, and then once that year's up, then it's available on Canadian Netflix. So it's interesting in that regard right there, but when they get it, it'll all be done, like season chunks.
Right. They'll have had their chance to see it as a weekly water cooler show before then.
Yeah. And this is a really interesting show, really interesting concept of this small town. They paint it in like can be Canadian, can be American, just a little bit more Canadian with some of the terminology that they use. But in this small town, a disease hits, and if you are over the age of 22, you die. So everyone is under the age of 22. We have Jeanette McCurdy. When you see her in here, she's pregnant. Her character is pregnant, and I'm like, all right, that's an interesting thing. Did not mention this at all when you were on Jimmy Fallon. That, like, oh yeah, you play a pregnant girl, which, all right. And I only saw the pilot, so I don't know where it's going to go from here. But we just see everyone starting to die off, and I'm like, hey, you're from Degrassi, because there's like one dude in here who is on Degrassi. I'm like, you'll be on Netflix later, I'm pretty sure. But no, it's another one of them interesting sci-fi shows.
Yeah, I read a little bit about it. It reminded me sort of The Stand, which I've not read. I've read very little Stephen King, unfortunately. There's things that I want to get back to of his. But it did remind me of that opening of The Stand is a bunch of people get infected with this strange disease, and so much of humanity sort of dies off at the very beginning of it. It's not based on age, but it's a similar premise where it's the rest of the people are then kind of trying to deal with what happened and why, and make their way through this new world.
It reminded me a little bit more of Revival by Tim Seeley on Image Comics.
Which probably owes a little bit to King's Stand.
Yeah. Just in the fact of, they're in this quarantined area and they do take, like, it's like, oh, you cannot leave at all. And if you belong in there, get in! As they chuck you over the moat, sort of deal. Excuse me, some visually stunning parts in here where you see, like, I think they did this on the pilot for Wayward Pines, where they pull out and you see the whole town and, oh, hey, look, wall. They did that with In Between as well, but it was at night. So it's like another visually, like, oh, hey, look, because you have all the little town, the lights there, and then light border for the fences that are all around the town. So it's just really impressive.
Also a little bit Wayward Pines then, isn't it?
Yeah. Except for I'm watching this, and I plan on watching this, and I didn't give up after the pilot.
I'm a little further. I finished episode 4 of Wayward Pines, so we're still an episode behind, and I guess episode 5 is where it all gets revealed. I was talking with Dave about it today and a few other people that are really enjoying the show. I just don't find anybody on the show likable. But I think the mystery holds something, but I would have written it off, too, if it wasn't for the fact. I asked my wife when I went on to the 3rd episode, I'm like, are you still watching this? Oh, yeah. All right. Just kind of like, sure, that's okay. And we bumped through it. But we're definitely not paying too much attention to it when it's on anyways. It's just kind of background filler with, let's find out what the hell is happening. Another series, book series that would make a really good TV series that's like this is called Yesterday's Gone by Sean Platt and David Wright, and it was written as a serial. So they do seasons of the books. So they do like shorter stories that add up to a whole season, and then they do 6 of those seasons to get it all through. So they released like episodes at first on Amazon. I've read the first, probably like the first couple of the first season, but it's very well done. Platt and Wright and Johnny B. Truant is one of their co-writers. They do the self-publishing podcast together, which is one of my favorite podcasts. But that book series is very good. So if you like this kind of atmosphere, different story, but if you kind of enjoy this stuff, and there's a very fun serial killer degenerate guy in there named Mauricio, you could check that out.
Nice. So we're going to take a break, do starts and stops, the new audio pre-recorded version, and then we'll come back. We'll talk iZombie, because I realized, hey, we've gone 4 weeks without talking iZombie, and all that. So yeah, stay tuned. Hello and welcome to Starts and Stops. Starting with Tuesday, June 16th at 7:45 p.m. on Fox, you have the sports special FIFA Women's World Cup. At 9 p.m. on both A&E and FYI, a 1-hour special presentation, Married at First Sight, 6 months later, Part 1. Also at 9 p.m. on TNT, you have Rizzoli and Isles, the Season 6 premiere with the episode The Platform. At 10 p.m. on TBS, you have the series premiere of Clipped. TNT has the series premiere of Proof, and FX has the second season premiere of Tyrant. And then on Discovery, you have the first season finale of Sons of Winter, and TLC has the first season finale of The Willis Family. On Wednesday, June 17th at 9 p.m. on A&E, you have the 1-hour special presentation of Duck Dynasty Duck Commander Making the Musical. VH1 has the first season finale of Swab Stories, And then at 10 p.m. on BBC America, you have the third season finale of Ripper Street. American History Channel has the first season finale of World War II in the Pacific. And then at 11 p.m. on Sundance, you have the series premiere of Deutschland 83, the episode called Quantum Jump. Tuesday, June 18th at 8 p.m. on ABC, you have the series premiere of The Astronaut Wives Club. And Bravo has a 1-hour special presentation inside the Actors Studio with Jim Parsons. 9 p.m. on USA, you have the 2-hour series premiere of Complications. ABC has the 2-hour third season premiere of Mistresses. And then at 10 p.m. on History, you have the series premiere of Alone. And Travel has the 1-hour special presentation Metropolis with the episode about London. On Friday, June 19th at 8 p.m. on CBS, you have a new episode of the special night of The Briefcase. Fox has the U.S. Open Championships. And then at 9 p.m. on Sci-Fi, you have the series premiere of Killjoys. And then at 10 p.m. on IFC, you have the 1-hour special presentation of the College Humor Comedy Music Hall of Fame Awards, hosted by Paul F. Tompkins. And then on Saturday, June 20th at 9 p.m., Disney XD has the second season premiere of Star Wars Rebels, and BBC America has the third season finale of Orphan Black. At 10 p.m. on Discovery, you have the first season finale of Life Story, and then DIY has the fifth season finale of the Vanilla Ice Project. And on Sunday, June 21st at 8 p.m. on ABC, you have the second season premiere of Celebrity Family Feud, Anthony Anderson versus Tony Braxton, and Monica Potter versus Curtis Stone. At 9 p.m. on ABC, you have the series premiere of BattleBots. Pivot has a 90-minute special, the Peabody Awards by Pivot. TNT has the 2-hour second season premiere of The Last Ship. PBS has the series premiere of Poldark. And on HBO, you have the second season premiere of True Detective. At 10 p.m. on HBO, you have the series premiere of Ballers. Mike has the third season premiere of Catch a Contractor. PBS has the series premiere of The Crimson Field. At 10:30 on HBO, you have the series premiere of The Brink. And at 11:59, you have the 11th season premiere on Adult Swim of Aqua Teen Hunger Force. On Monday, June 22nd at 12 p.m. noon on ABC Family, you have Dawson's Creek, the off-network premiere on ABC Family. And then at 5 p.m. on ABC Family, you have Buffy the Vampire Slayer, its off-network premiere on ABC Family. At 9 p.m. on HBO, you have the special presentation Requiem for the Dead, American Spring 2014. At 10 p.m. on American Heroes Channel, you have the series premiere of Auschwitz, Hitler's Final Solution. And on Nat Geo, you have the first season finale of American Genius, Edison versus Tesla. And PBS has the 28th season premiere of POV. And then at 11 p.m. on Nat Geo, you have the first season finale of Star Talk with Norman Lear. And you can find more TV shows premiering or ending on our website, elsenerds.com, in the show notes. Yeah, so that all is coming out. I did this because it's easier to do that, especially when we're pulling on an audio podcast as well. And it also gave me time to go out and grab a wet rag so I can cool off a little bit, because I can't run fans when I'm doing podcasts.
Gregor is a hoopy fruit who knows where his towel is.
Yes. But no, so with starts and stops, I've mentioned this pre-show and I'll mention this but when we have streaming starts, like new stuff from Netflix that will be coming out in the month, and then final curtain, so stuff that'll be canceled or could be canceled, those we will still cover like this. Much like we will still cover the movie.
Uh-oh. Gregor, you froze. You did all that and you froze, you stupid punk. All right, the movie draft. Let's talk a little bit about the movie draft, because this week we will see a change in numbers, a big change in numbers, and I kind of want to say, hey, Jurassic World kind of came out, kind of did a big deal. The biggest of big deals. It happens to be the biggest opening of any movie, both stateside and worldwide. And I can't imagine it happening to a nicer fella. And you may say, well, yeah, of course. I mean, Chris Pratt, he's a great dude. He did the Lego movie. He did Guardians of the Galaxy. And I say, no, you dumb, stupid asshole. I'm talking about Beatmaster, who has this movie, and it is the first movie that he has had in the draft to show up. And he has landed with $204.6 million on his first week on the board. And that is impressive, and kind of sucks for me, because I don't think my money has moved in the last 3 weeks, and I'm the one who's had movies coming out.
It has. It's been very slowly moving, but it's moved.
Beatmaster bought this movie for $22.
Mm-hmm.
$22. Biggest opening of all time. $22. I think he should win just for that. At the very least, he gets a Stanley No Prize. I just think that's kind of incredible.
I think Evan would beg to differ because, and I've had this problem, pulling back the curtain here, for the past 2 days of Chrome crashing on me, and so that's what happened. It wasn't a full computer failure, and luckily I wasn't recording here because I messed up something to where the audio from you guys was not coming in here, but whatever. I digress. So yeah, hey, Beat, way to make it on the board. I'm pretty sure because of this, with this just being opening week, me and Coy are not going to be sitting in second and third next week.
No, no.
And Evan may not be in first at the end of like 3 weeks.
And how is this for being under a bad sign? My wife and I watched the first 2 Insidious movies on TV. We actually had to pay to rent the first one because they removed it from Netflix because they're dicks. And then we watched the second one, all in anticipation of seeing Insidious 3 yesterday. And we wound up not going and doing anything because she wasn't feeling well and I have a pinched nerve in my back. So what a bite in the ass. And you know what we actually had talked about doing before going into it was that, maybe we'll do a double feature and we'll see Insidious 3 and Jurassic World because she's really into the idea of going and seeing Jurassic World.
Yeah. So maybe you'll contribute to Beat's total domination.
I would definitely contribute to it. I've contributed to Evan with Avengers. I would still like to see Tomorrowland. I guess I'm the one. And I'm sure Aaron would like to go see Spy. But yeah, I mean, I've watched Poltergeist. I don't think I've seen anything on yours. Although
you don't want to go see any of mine. It's okay. We're still friends.
No, I want to see Mad Max. I've heard such great things about it that I'd like to see it, but I just don't think I'm going to get the chance.
What about San Andreas, sir?
I have no interest in San Andreas. I live in California. Fuck you.
Well, hey, Snoop Dogg wants to see it. He lives in California.
He is high all the time. He don't give a shit.
Yeah, that's true. But no, so that's our movie update. So now I want to talk about iZombie, and basically this is Greg's plea to Corey on why he should finish iZombie, because holy crap, the last action scene there was amazing. That's my plea. The last episode. So we've missed a few things. There was over the past 2 or 3 episodes, there was this mini arc within the overall arch of the season, and which included the actress who plays Sin on Arrow, Black Canary's little friend.
Oh yeah, I love her. She was on the 3rd season of The Killing. She was terrific on that. Didn't make it to the 4th season. Spoilers. But I was so excited when I saw her on Arrow, and then they kind of like wrote her off the same way as they did Kitty Lots, you dicks.
Because they did the same thing. They sort of did the same thing here with her on iZombie. Because I'm pretty sure once they wrote her off, they were working on that episode of iZombie and brought her in, and all that, and spoiler alert, she lasted just as long as her character on Arrow. Actually, no, I think she lasted longer on Arrow. But no.
Yeah, I don't think she died on Arrow. She just went away.
Yeah. But so, and like Beatmaster's saying, there's no duds in here. But this last action scene, like, it's great because we have Major, who throughout this whole season has been trying to figure out what's up with this group of people with Blaine and his crew, and then finally figuring it out. I'm trying to remain a little vague here as to not spoil major plot points. Major plot points there for you.
Doesn't bug me, man.
No, this with where I was going with that, it might. And then he has the sickest action scene on a CW show this year, in my opinion. Like, this last scene, his last action scene, it's like, holy cow, you go, Major. Like, instead of like, you go, girl, it's like, you go, Major. Just kicking zombie ass. And it's awesome. It ends on a super sad cliffhanger. All I'm gonna say, but oh my gosh, with where it ends, I'm like, but I will mention this. We do figure out the whole Max Rager influence on the zombies in here, and how far they actually knew about this, which is great. And I cannot wait for season 2, which comes out in like a couple of months. Like, they're coming back in the fall with Flash, and then, which is actually smart, because I think they'll still do a 13-episode season, and then the back half would be Legends of Tomorrow, which is smart.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Corey, catch up. You have time, but still catch up.
Well, I have to see what's available on demand, because I think my DVR only collects 5 episodes, and I think I probably dropped off a little bit before that.
Yeah.
Or I just wait until it hits Netflix.
True, or I think it still might be playing on. They might restart on CW, so it's just like, there you go. The other one, real quick, I want to head on, and then we could talk AFI, is Hit Record on TV. This is, they've changed the title of it. It's Hit Record on TV, starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt, which, basically, okay, that's the point. But this first episode was really good. It had Mindy Kaling, who wrote a short story and stars in it, and this one was called, it was all about the dark, and you hear, like, they changed it, the way they changed it, I was iffy at first, but I'm like, okay, it works. It's fine, you still have a lot of collaboration from the Hit Record community. They did a music video in there, and it was really good. But the thing I loved the most was the short story that was written by Mindy Kaling and narrated by Mindy Kaling, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and dude who's on the Mindy Project who plays Danny is in there as well. It's a really great story. It's just so cool. She plays a dark magician who's also a nurse who's in love with Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character. But he's in love with dancing, and he had this accident where he couldn't walk anymore, and he remembers back when his favorite dancer gave him a towel that had it was like the dude's lucky towel or whatever, and then so she cast a spell on him for him to go to bed when he was in sleep to have like his best dream ever, which is just him dancing with the dude. Like, so it's not like slow dance, but it's like two-step or whatever, it's this fast dance, and it goes on. The dude who's in the dream would rather be out here, with like a woman or whatever, because I think they had that line like, so you ever been with a woman? Or something like that, and then he just wants to dance, so she casts a spell for them to switch places, and it's just so good. It's such a good story, and I'm liking this because a lot of the stuff is just people you've never heard of that created these things. Like, did the art, did the music, did the lyrics, all that. And it's really good. So
it sounds like a really fun show.
It is.
Any excuse to see Joseph Gordon-Levitt dance is a good excuse in my book.
Yeah, and you get to hear about how he likes dark stuff, like dark movies, like dark comedies. Oh gosh, he gave examples of some of his favorite movies, but then said that there is a balance to it with the movies, because to watch something that is purely dark would just be morose. It would just be, but to watch something that is all light, it would just be a fluff piece, sort of thing. I'm like, yeah,
sounds like a good guy to have working on the Sandman movie, which is the case.
Yeah. So the AFI, I honestly forgot about this. The AFI tribute to Steve Martin. How was that?
Oh, it was wonderful. And Steve Martin is just one of those people that deserves to be celebrated anyways, but it did so many great things, and there were just some terrific people. Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, Sarah Silverman. and a just truly beautiful moment from Martin Short that was far more touching than probably what I expected it to be, where he sang, and it was just lovely. And Steve Martin is one of those guys that, you know, I've grown to love more and more over time. Like, I didn't think The Jerk was the funniest movie in the world, but I definitely grew up with it. And his other movies, The Man with Two Brains, I started to really think he was the coolest when I saw him in Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, which was a black and white movie that Carl Reiner did with him, where they took clips and actors from all these old black and white films and worked the story around them so that he's interacting with people like I can't think of anybody's names right now. I can't believe I can't think of the guy from Casablanca. That's terrible.
Oh gosh, I know this.
Yeah, I know. It's like, that hurts. I feel like I just had a stroke or something. But yeah, it's.
I feel like I should have my movie nerd card revoked.
Both of us should. I think sometimes you just have a bad day. We're just having a bad day. I knew it when I walked in here. Anyways.
Gene Kelly?
No, Gene Kelly is the dancer. This is... Oh, God, I can't believe this. It begins with a B.
Humphrey Bogart.
Humphrey Bogart, right. God, man, that was tough.
That was Google. That was all Google.
Jeez, that was...
Our producers didn't help with crap. Sorry.
I pulled out Casablanca on them. Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid is just one of those movies that I loved, and I continue to love it. It's kind of a weird point in my life where I was like just young enough where I was watching movies that had more depth to them, and I liked it on a different level than what I liked when I was just a kid. I like that and Popeye. I love Popeye as a musical with Robin Williams. But Steve Martin just continued to grow as a person who started out doing things like wearing an arrow through his head and doing King Tut and being on Saturday Night Live, but has that kind of vaudevillian background. And then he did Pennies from Heaven, and he learned in 6 months how to tap dance to do this movie. And he taught himself how to play the banjo. He's just, they say it on the special, he's a Renaissance man. He is amazing. Apparently he's going to be at something local here in August. Aaron and I are trying to see if we can score tickets to it.
Yeah, he was with him, the Steep Canyon Rangers, and but it was billed as him and Steve Martin Short. It was their last tour that they did, and that was over at Soaring. Not Soaring Eagle, I think it was at Firekeepers over in Battle Creek. But I heard advertising. I'm like, I'd love to go. Because there's just even hearing the radio clips, I'm laughing hysterically. My mom's looking up at me when we're driving, like, what is wrong with him? Like, that's funny.
I really want to see him play the banjo. That's kind of like the big thing to me. Is I love Steve Martin's acting. I love his comedy. I think he's a terrific writer. Roxanne, one of my favorite movies of all time. But I just want to see him play the banjo. I think that could just make me the happiest guy in the world. Anyways, it's a great tribute. It's one of those things where it doesn't... It's not like it's something you have to see unless you're the biggest Steve Martin fan, and it's definitely worth seeing. But it's a really nice, kind of sweet thing to do. I'm recording the music special that you were talking about earlier with Weird Al.
Mm-hmm.
That's coming up this Saturday that Paul F. Tompkins is hosting. I saw that being advertised, so I'm definitely going to look forward to that as well. It's all about comedy albums. But yeah, just totally worth seeing. It was kind of a weird, quirky thing. I'd never really heard of AFI before. Mel Brooks, I guess, won the last AFI Lifetime Achievement Award, which makes total sense. And I
think that was last year.
Yeah, he presented this one to Steve. And, of course, it's Mel Brooks. He's excellent, too. So, totally worth seeing this.
Yeah, and you ain't had time to TV, huh?
I didn't. I had no time to TV. Yeah, I don't know. I've been talking about doing this one for a while, and I maybe kind of regret it. This was because I've only done one of these before, and I keep saying I'm going to do it more. But it's not only dedication of like you have to spend a couple hours and you have to kind of find the shows that you want to do that are going to make sense to do it. This was a show that just ended recently. It's Mad Men, and Mad Men is one of those shows that people who watched it just raved on it. And I never heard of a moment where they said, "Oh, Mad Men's lost it." Like it's not like the last 3 seasons of Dexter, where it just went downhill and the last season just totally screwed you. This was a show that, from beginning to end, people seemed to really dig, and I heard great things about the ending too. But all I knew about it was that it was like based in the 50s, and that it was a lot of sexist guys working in an advertising company. And I love advertising, so let me tell you the first part is that I had to watch the first episode on Netflix, but I had the last episode that I DVR'd when it played live a few weeks ago. And there was a definite difference between watching the first one, recorded and playing back without any breaks, essentially, and watching the last one, where there were actually commercials. And there were some very good commercials during it, too, not least of which was a YouTube commercial starring Hannah Hart, which I thought was just terrific. But there was a few commercials, and I was like, wow, this is a really great commercial, and I don't think I've seen this anywhere else. And it's funny that I'm watching it during this show about advertising. And I wonder if maybe it was pitched that way, other than the fact that it was like the biggest night of TV that other stations didn't play anything while that was going on. The other thing is that it starts out in the 50s, but the last season apparently jumps ahead to the 60s. So there's a huge difference in time, and it's not confusing. Like when I watched True Blood, characters that were in the first episode, a lot of them weren't anywhere in the last episode, and then a bunch of other characters have been introduced. This wasn't like that. There was a couple of new people, but it really seemed to focus on the people who had been there from the beginning, and it just felt like obviously their lives had changed, the story has gone on, but it all kind of made sense. You know, I didn't feel lost watching the gap in between being as wide as it was, being how many seasons it was or whatever, and with the time jump. I got what was happening to Don Draper. I got what was happening to Peggy and to Joan and to these other characters. And a lot of the other characters I didn't even really know because they weren't hugely prevalent in the first episode. They weren't that prevalent in the last episode. There were only a few key people that it seemed to be about. But I totally understood it, and I felt very connected to them. And while the first episode dealt more with doing the ads, you know, like making the pitch to a company and trying to sell something. In the first episode, they're trying to sell Lucky Strike cigarettes right after they can no longer really say that doctors approve of cigarettes or that cigarettes aren't bad for you. The research has come out. It's like, no, cigarettes are really bad for you. The last episode wasn't so much about that. It was trying to like figure out what their lives are supposed to be now. They're starting new businesses. Peggy's trying to decide if she wants to go and leave the company to go work with Joan at Joan's new production company. Don is sort of on this voyage of self-discovery because he's kind of realized that he's screwed up his entire life, which you can see in the first episode, and it's just progressed to the last. It's really good. And I don't feel like I've ruined the show by watching the last episode, but I do feel like it might have been nice to just go from episode 1 to episode 2. So this may be one that I go back to. I certainly think that as far as Mad Men goes, the hype was probably real. It was something that earned the love that people were showering upon it. And yeah, this may be something that is worth the time of investment, including all the middle pieces.
Yeah.
So if you ain't got time to TV, maybe you make the time for Mad Men.
Yeah. Very well done. I'm going to actually try to do that here in the summer months now that TV is not too bad for me. But I believe that just about wraps it up for us. I don't know if there's anything else you want to hit on.
No, I am good. I did change some of the stuff as far as the website. The URLs are set up now. Yeah. So if you go to elsenerds.com, it will take you right to our site. If you want to find our Facebook group, you can still find that at facebook.eltsnerds.com. And if you want to find our past episodes, all our shows just directly on our YouTube, you can find that at watch.eltsnerds.com. And then, of course, you can follow us on Twitter at eltsnerds.
Yeah, where we post stuff daily, usually about the splash page. But yeah, so that wraps it up here, and we record What Else Is On every Monday night at 9:30 East, 6:30 West, and we have other shows that I know for Pod Save the Queen I'm trying to get back more on top of it, but finding problems of like Tunnel Bear, which gives me limited resources and all that. But yeah, like we have Pod Save the Queen and 616, which will be back in the future. And don't forget our sister station, which is now on Alpha Geek Radio. That is the Galactic Netcasts with their shows Sci-Fi Geeks Club, Alien Invasion, Adventure Party, Weird World Weekly, and all their all the net bites, like Splash Page Podcast and Who News and their gaming news and all that stuff. It's just such good fun.
I'm hoping that the S Word is coming back soon because I really enjoyed work on that.
Yeah, and maybe we'll see a certain co-host doing something here in the near future.
You know, I ain't got time for that either, man. You know, I'm very old. My nerves pinch just for me sitting still. I didn't even do anything. That's just 40s. That's just the 40s.
No, I'm not putting pressure. I'm just, hey, it'd be great to see what he does. But yeah, so this has been a Don't Tell Glenn production. We will see you guys next time.
Take care, everybody.